Are you looking for a good travel game? This might be it. We're going to find out.
Let's go downstream.
Hey everybody, I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Camilla.
And today we're taking a look at a two-player small travel game. And this is Downstream.
It's a travel game.
Well, you can travel with it.
It's a travelable game.
It's a game you can take with you.
You may.
Yes, so pretty much I like this style of games because I look for something to take with us when we go places, you know?
Right. This is great because I see this size box and I think it can go in my purse and play at the airport or go hiking with me or something like that. You know, maybe not play in the car necessarily, but it's that's what I think when I think this. It can go places and it should meet certain criteria for me as well.
Yep.
You know, I want a game that not only physically fits in this box, but weight-wise, time-wise, mental investment should be about like this.
Exactly. So we are going to see how this stacks up with all the other travel games out there. But first, let's take a look at how it's played. Okay, we are set up for a game of Downstream right here. Downstream is a two-player game. I'm going to go quickly over this. Not going to go through all the rules, but honestly, this is a fairly simple game. Like I said, it's a two-player game, and this is the setup here. And you've got a little canoe right here. You're going to build a river, and you're going to get different victory points depending on different conditions. First off, we've got up here, these are going to be different conditions that whoever gets the most of these on their side of the river are going to get victory points. For example, right here, most wildlife not next to tributaries. And then largest area of connected terrain, most cards stacked above forest. What does that mean? We'll go to that in a moment. So all of these different objectives here. So on your turn, you can do a couple of things. One, you're always going to play a card. You can play it right from the top, or you can flip it and then play one from the other side. For example, here's what we'll do. First off, we're going to place this. There we go. We've got a tree symbol over here and a campfire over here. The next person goes, and now the option is this. So say it's this person over here going, and we're going to go ahead and take this one. Now at this option, you've got to always match up a terrain. So I can play it like this. Now both of them happen to match up, but only one has to match. Or I can take it and I can stack. So I'm going to go ahead and stack this. Now when you stack, these symbols cannot match. Okay? So you can't put like a tree in a tree. All right? So it's the next person's turn. So let's take a look. Tell you what, they don't like any of those options. So we could actually flip if we want to. Just like this. And if you flip, then you're going to move the canoe down the river. All right? Now, why does that matter? Now, then, of course, you got to take your turn here. And here, your option is only, you can't place anything. So you're going to place it right here. I could also take this and stack it over here. Why would you do that? Well, you could stack on the other person's side of the river. Why would you do that? Because certain of these objectives mean that you want, say you want a campfire that's stacked with nothing else. Well, you don't want to give that to them, so you would just stack it on that side, matching the terrain. Now, let's go back to this canoe. Why does this canoe travel down the river? Well, when you go ahead and place a card, stacking or otherwise, you can only place it where the canoe is or downstream. So once this crosses past here, then you can't place anything up above that. Now, one other thing to mention is everyone is going to have their hidden objectives. So, of course, you're going to go ahead and at the end of the game, you're going to count the victory points. We'll go to that in a moment. But each person is going to have their hidden objectives here as well. You're going to grab one of these, and everyone has one of these. For example, this one here, you score a point for every point of interest on your side of the river. And then another one here, you're going to score a point for every 2 mountains on your side of the river, rounding down. So you're going to look on your side of the river, either north or south, and you're going to count those up. So pretty much you're going to keep playing. Person's turn, you're going to keep placing these down, keep going down the river and creating it, moving it around until all of these cards are gone. So then at the end, here's how you score it. Whoever wins this one, if the longest range of mountains over here, there we go. We have 2 victory points here. Most wildlife next to tributaries or not next to tributaries goes over here. So you're going to take those, put them on your side. Those are going to be victory points. You're also going to get a point for all of the points of interest on your side of the river. For example, this one and whatever, you're going to count those up. And then you're also going to get points from your personal objectives, whatever those might be. And then you're going to count up the points, and whoever has the most points wins. And that is how you play Downstream, a river building game for two. Let's send it back and see what we thought about it. Okay, so that's pretty much how you play Downstream. It's very simple.
It is,
right?
Yes.
Now, the big thing about this is what I wanted is I usually, when I travel, grab button shy games.
Okay.
Because they're so quick to put in, and this has more. Now, it sounds weird to say a crowded field, but it's a crowded field with small box tile laying games.
I think so. There's a lot of games we're seeing is what can you do with just a deck of cards? And I do think that Button Shy was kind of a pioneer in that. We're also seeing a lot of print and play kind of options coming out in Kickstarter and different crowdfunding platforms, things like that. But different ways that you can layer cards on top of each other. One of my favorite examples of that is the Trailblazers. Which is a little one as well. And this one probably reminds me the most of that. And that one you're making trails, and this one you were just going down a river. Right.
Which, again, the rule set is very simple on this. And you are I think the canoe thing is pretty fun to bring the canoe down. And it's very strategic about when you move your canoe.
I think that the rule simple, you are correct. The rule simple is very simple.
Yeah.
However, I think that there is a little bit more depth in the strategy that you get out of that second and third play. When you start to put it together, why would I move the canoe? Because, it took us like halfway through the first one to be like, why would I ever move the canoe?
No. She's underestimated. She was very angry during the first play. She's like, why am I even doing this?
In my defense, he didn't read the rule that you can only play where the canoe is or after.
Oh, I knew the rule, and he
just didn't teach it.
Yes.
So yeah, but when you realize that, you're like, oh, so that'll preserve it so that you can't come behind and mess up my mountain range or mess up my tree, my objective scoring that I've set up. So it kind of preserves the scoring that you've set for yourself or how you've hurt somebody else, something like that.
And that's a good point, because that's where I think what we didn't do in the first one, I think it could be a negative or positive. I think this game really shines when you start to do that, take that. When you start to say, I see you're going for a large mountain range to get that objective, so I'm going to go and throw this there.
Right. It does. It when you realize the level of player interaction that's needed, it really starts to shine. But you do need to know that going into it. You are building something, but somebody else is, putting their little sticky fingers in your campsite as well.
And that's really fun strategy-wise. I will be like, okay, I'm going to block this mountain range and say it. She will do it quietly, where it's like, I have all these campfires, and then she sticks things between them so they all don't score. And then later I'm like, have you been just doing that? But it's a really...
He's highly distractible.
Yes.
It's not my fault.
It's a meaner game than anticipated.
It is. It really is. But I think that it doesn't cross into the territory of feeling mean. It doesn't feel like... I would not call this a take that game.
No.
It is... Because there are times that you have both. I can really help myself here, or I can hold you back.
Right.
You are incentivized to help yourself more than you are to hold them back because of the objectives, which I really like. The objectives are more about how the two sides of the north and the south of the river are balanced. Whoever has the most trees that are not stacked, whoever has the longest mountain range, something like that. So they score on your side, which I guess pulls focus away from just hurting the other person, because you have to build up for your own scoring, not just mess up their scoring.
And that's a good point, too, because you are actually... Those objectives can be a bit frustrating because you're both going for them, but only one will get those stars.
Right.
So you could just end up with 0.
Right.
And so that's one negative I think you see, because it could be a low-scoring game. Someone could just get shut out towards the end. Not shut out, but a lower score. But another thing is the table space this takes was surprising.
Yes.
Because we're playing on a game table, and even we had to be like, all right, we're going to kind of pick this up and move it over here.
Right. And I think that's ultimately what takes it out of that travel game category is I think that you couldn't, if you're in a hotel room, we'll say, there's probably not a table space big enough unless you're playing it long ways on a table.
Right.
And you can't really play it on a bed, because as you're tucking the cards, sometimes that gets a little tricky, and then everything can get really messy. So you have to have a hard, flat surface to play on. So in a hotel, I think your best option would honestly be play on the floor. Yes. And that's not where I like to play games, even when I'm traveling. It's not one that I think I would find myself taking camping for that same reason, is there's not going to be a large flat enough spot unless you're like clearing away a bunch of leaves and moving rocks and stuff like that. So,
right.
So yeah, I think that is probably the biggest deterrent for me, is just the amount of table space. There's not as much tucking of cards that I would want, which is going to shorten the river, obviously.
Right.
But at the same time, tucking the cards, it gets a little fiddly as they just don't tuck very seamlessly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's one thing at first you realize, well, this will no longer play on an airplane table. You know,
for sure. No, there's no way it'll play on an airplane table. Yeah.
All right, so where do you come down on it?
For me, I'm coming in at a 7.5, though. I did enjoy the play of this game. I think 20 minutes is such a sweet spot for it. I really like the mechanism of moving the canoe, and it moves when you flip the deck over. So you have a little bit of memory element. It's either memory or feels like you're pushing your luck. You know,
yes.
and it really toes that line well, because if you turned it over on your turn, I know what's under there and I'm thinking about it. But if we haven't turned it over in 2 or 3, I have no idea what's under there.
Right.
And then I'm like, ooh, that top one's good, but I really want this symbol. Let's go for it. And I turn it back over.
Yeah.
You know, and so I really like that element of it. I think it brings an interesting decision, maybe a little bit of tension to it. But it still fits. I mean, it says 20 minutes on the box, and that is very accurate. It is a 20-minute game, and I think it's fulfilling in that 20-minute game. I just think that tucking the cards can get a little bit fiddly. And there's not a lot of variety in the scoring, you know, in your individual goals. You play twice, and you know what they all are.
Yeah.
You know, now you don't know which one they chose, but after a couple plays here, I'm already like, ooh, I'd like to see a little bit more variety in the scoring objectives.
Yeah. I'm coming in a bit low at a 7, though. I still enjoy this game because, again, it's very random with the cards to show up, but it's fun. Like you mentioned, the flipping. It's like I've flipped before. Like I see a star that I can't place. I'll flip it and hope you didn't see that and remember it's down there, and then you'll be like, I remember that. It's a nice little give and take. I think it flows well. But again, the table space is what takes it away from something that I would always have with me. But I think it's a really good game, especially the fact that the canoe is adorable. Let's just be honest.
It's super cute.
It's so
super
good.
It is cute, but it's also one of those things, I think that's what keeps this from just going, like you have to have it. It's what keeps it from just going into like your, what do they call that, thing that you should keep all your cards in that you travel with. Your
travel case.
Sure.
Card case.
Oh, quiver. Your quiver.
Quiver. There we go.
It's, you know, it does kind of stink that you have to have this
right,
piece.
But you do.
You know, but you do. And I'm glad it's there, and it is super, super cute.
Yes. So that is a seal of approval for both of us. This is a great travel game because the theme, again, I think it's very unique. It's kind of a little canoe. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's approachable, too.
It is.
It's really approachable.
It is. So it's good. Check it out. It's Downstream, and I am Joey.
I'm Camilla.
And we just played Downstream, and she won.
All the times, actually.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
It's very
weird.
sad. Very sad.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us for that video. If you haven't yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hey, make sure you check out what's happening, where I'll cover an app on an iOS or a Switch device, and you can check it out along with me. Thanks very much. You've been watching The Dice Tower.
I saved you a seat. Ooh, shh, listen. That's a satisfying sound, isn't it?
Yeah, you should write a song about it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can tell 'cause I'm smiling.
I know, making sure you're not doing anything stupid.
Is it warm in here?
It is.
Holy smokes, I can't breathe.
I know. Well, it's also because you're wearing 30 different
Yeah,
layers.
because it's like 50 degrees outside.
So cold.
Oh.
Shut everybody.
I got snow boots on.
All right. Hi, I'm Joey Evans.
I got snow boots.
My gosh.